I've met this lady in Sydney, and she's probably one of the only fucking people that challenged me. I was so full of energy when I went to interview her, and then she blew my fucking mind. She was amazing and just energy on another level. Not just a PR queen, extraordinary businesswoman. Roxy Jacenko.
Why you playing? Why you playing?
Welcome. You ladies have a seat.
Where do you want me?
Roxy, welcome.
Thank you.
You just got off a flight.
This is amazing. Hi all. I'm sorry I'm late. I was supposed to be this morning, but I just flew in now, so excuse my lateness.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
We're all very excited to have you
thank
here.
you. There's a lot of people. I should start to shit myself now.
All right, well, to get started with, I'd love for you to share a bit about your story. So who is Roxy, and how did you get to where you are today?
Okay, well, I would say my journey is not dissimilar to many of the people in this room. I started as a receptionist for, at the time, a brand called Diesel, which is now making a comeback. You would have probably seen the Diesel logo on a few different items more recently. When I started there, it would have been 1998. I was 18. And I started as a receptionist because I basically was shit at school. I didn't listen. I got expelled from one, went to another, didn't do very well there, got chucked out of there, and then ended up at Skeggs Darlinghurst in Sydney. And from there, I just worked my way up. I guess I didn't have the smarts to get into uni. I couldn't even pay to get to Bond. I don't even think they would have taken me. So it was like, okay, take whatever job I can get and be the best at that role. Don't think of anything within that role is not my job. One of the things that really irritated me was that, you know, I was this receptionist sitting on the front desk, and I'd be happy to do anything. If you want me to take the rubbish out, I'll take the rubbish out. If you want me to restack the fridge and have all the labels in one row so it looks perfect when you look into it, I'll do it. Answer the phone, run and get people's lunches. It never mattered to me what I was doing. It was more about using that as a stepping stone to show that I would be the person in the business that would do anything in order to grow my career. So that was my entry in, and then I moved throughout that business. I was there for 4 years. And I moved throughout the business, ended up as a PR and marketing manager where I got a business card. Didn't know what I was doing, to be really honest with you. And there wasn't really even Google then. You didn't Google, okay, well, how do I write a press release? You just didn't write one and said the press release is dead. You don't need one. I'll write a news snippet. So I did that for about 4 months only at Diesel after 4 years. And I was good at it. And the next thing you knew, I was getting calls from people who were attempting to poach me to work for them. And I was like, what is this? I was just happy to have a business card. I was still sat at the reception desk, by the way. And so I moved into my own business from that point. Someone offered me a role with them, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to start a business. And like many small businesses, you sort of take that risk and you worry about the consequences after. For me, failure was not an option, still to this day. And so many people will be like, and I'm sure it's been said today on the stage, oh, doesn't matter if you fail. Well, it does fucking matter if you fail. You have to have the mindset that failure is not an option. And so that was my mindset. It didn't matter how hard it got for me at 24 with no understanding on how PR and marketing worked. There was no social media. It was about picking up the phone and cold calling editors. Like Emil with real estate. You know, it's not like you can send an email and hope they're going to give you that listing. It's about picking up the phone and speaking to people. It's about knocking on their door because you've sold a property down the road, and that's what I did, but with magazine editors. So that's a bit about how I started. And then things evolved. Obviously, I've done a few TV shows, some successfully, some not so successfully. Just don't ask me to jump out of a chopper again. Been there, done that. Lasted for 6 minutes.
What a start to your career. That's amazing. I think something that's been a real theme for us today is so many of the people who've come up onto stage have this fire in their belly to just make it work. You know, you wake up every day and you have this huge hunger to just, you know, wake up and make the most of every single day. So for you, I'd love to hear a little bit about what inspired you. So on this journey, you know, was there one person or one experience that really stuck with you every day and motivated you to make the most of every single day?
Well, there were a few things. I think number one was what you see when you walked in, and that was Emil, your car. And I was like, where do I buy a raffle ticket so I can win it and drive it home? And as materialistic as that sounds, my mentality was always be in debt. And I don't necessarily mean be in debt in terms of materialistic things, but buy property. You know, be in debt so that you work harder to succeed more. Okay. Oh, there you go. I'll get to that in a second. I was like, hang on, what's that about? Number one was that I knew that if I was in debt, I would work harder, and the harder I worked, the more success I'd have. Number two was that failure was not an option, and I stick by that. And so many people disagree with me. Oh, well, if you fail, pick yourself up and go again. Well, don't fail. And if you think it's failure, it's actually not. It's a lesson, and keep going. Just don't go, okay, well, it's too hard, I'm not doing this anymore. You pick yourself up and you keep going. And then number three was, you know, it comes down to the fact, I also would say to you that my parents, yes, I come from a comfortable family. Did my parents give me anything? No. An 18-year-old Volvo for my 18th birthday, which was the ugliest thing you've ever seen. And they said, if you want anything better, you work. It was to make sure that I didn't disappoint them. And that for me was because my schooling was diabolical. I never applied myself. I didn't care about being at school. I used to tell the teachers how to do their job. I was just a brat. And I guess for me, I look back at that schooling where I was very privileged to go to a great school, and I really fucked it up. And so I thought to myself, okay, well, you're out of school now. You've had various part-time jobs, like you can see there. I was the drive-through Macca's chick who got more phone numbers from guys and sold fillet of fishes. And then I worked at Kodak, and I printed Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise's pictures and then kept a copy and sold them to the newspaper. So I was an entrepreneur from the beginning. Both with boys' phone numbers and celebrity photographs. But it was just not to show my parents, and even to this day, I mean, I'm 43 now, and I still have this obsession with making sure that I succeed, no matter what it is that I do, and to make my parents proud, because I didn't do that throughout my schooling. And I think there's a lot of us who, you know, you go to school and you don't realize how important that journey actually is. And now I'm like really focused on that with my daughter, because uni is something now that is important. For me at 43, when I left school, it wasn't that important. If you went, it was good, and it was good to show an employer that you had the dedication to actually see that university degree through for the 3 years. And I know now for me as an employer, I actually do look at whether they've been to uni, not because they're going to learn anything at uni that's going to be beneficial. It's generally never beneficial. But what it shows to me as an employer is that they have the ability to start and finish something and see it through. That for me is very important. So that's a little bit of my three things as to why I guess I push so hard. And I said this to Emil when we did our video chat, I never wanted to want. You know, walking in, and I obviously know why the boys have their cars there, and that's because you see that and it builds the fire in you to want to succeed more, want to do more. That is, for me, something that's really important. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room, but as long as you've got that desire, the passion and the hunger, you really can do anything. And we're in a small country. It's not like there's that much competition.
I love that. That's amazing. I think you know, having this really clear vision and this desire to always succeed is so important. And I guess on that...
But you have to get... One thing I'm going to say with that is everyone has a desire, but it's whether you're willing to push yourself more than the person next to you. You know, the desire is one thing to have it. For instance, okay, me, I still have the desire. Yes, I've got everything that I want. But I got off a flight from Paris at 10:05 this morning. I went home, I dumped my children and my husband and the bags, thank God, see you later. I was actually happy to do that. I showered, washed my hair, which hadn't been washed for about 3 days, got back on a flight and came straight here. Flew economy class, fine, happy, ran out here, quickly got my hair and makeup done and walked onto the stage. You have to want it, and you have to want it more than anybody else. It's all well and good to want something and want success and want to succeed, but you have to work harder than the person next to you, the person behind you. And that is 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And I don't care anyone who says work-life balance, it doesn't fucking exist. I don't believe. And anyone who thinks it does, well, they're going to get left behind.
How do you deal with people who question that? Who question you and whether you...
Well, I'm the queen of disagreeing with everyone, so... look, you know, I think you do you. The reality is, and I guess, there you go. I'm used to it. You know, I take it with a grain of salt. The reality is, I know who I am, I know what I deliver, I call a spade a spade. You know, if you come to me and you want me to help you with something, I'm going to tell you if it's shit or if it's good. I would rather be like that. If you like it, you like it. If you loathe it, you loathe it. Jog on. Doesn't bother me. You know, there is negativity that comes with it, and you'll see that obviously on some of those snippets that the girls in the office put together for me. I don't really read them. Like, I don't care, whatever. You're keeping me relevant, you're making me more money, my posts are more expensive, so keep fucking writing it.
Wow, that's powerful stuff right there. From the PR queen herself.
I'd be irrelevant if you weren't talking about me. I wouldn't be sitting here.
So Roxy, I think building the success that you have now is obviously something that's taken time. And I'd love if you could share with us some of the most important routines and habits that you have that have allowed you to be as focused as you are now.
There are habits, but one thing I want to just touch on that point is I've always had an open door policy. There has never ever been an opportunity that has come to me and I've said a flat out no. What I reference is Celebrity Apprentice came to me and I did it. Did I want to do it? No, I fucking hated it. Stephanie Rice needs some lessons in using a knife and fork. How she eats is just diabolical. I did SAS. I lasted literally. I think I'm the highest paid reality star for 6 minutes of work. But I did it. Why? I was the most talked about person out there. All I had to do was jump out of a chopper. Sure, I had a fractured pelvis and a hip, and I probably could have stayed on a bit longer, but still, I did it. I showed up. I didn't say no when they came to me. I said yes. I've got like 5 books. I don't even read books. But I've got 5 books. Why? I wanted to be the only publicist who had several books with Allen and Unwin, the publishing company. So I guess one of the most important things as well I'll say to you is there's routine, which is obviously gym, keeping up to date with your emails, etc. But there's, obviously health and well-being. But at the same time, there's also that open door policy, which I think is the biggest one to really think about. Emil probably will disagree with me. He asked me to do, when you first started One Life Club, he asked me to do the video several times. And I was like, no, I can't. It wasn't that I didn't want to do it. It was because I didn't have a staffing at that time that I was comfortable with leaving in the office and stepping away to do something that wasn't focused around my clients. I think one of the things is you always say yes, you keep that relationship there, and then you do it when you can actually do it. I always look at it as, okay, a narrow way from the office for me could cost me 200 grand. In a mistake by a staff member. So yes, I'm a micromanager, but that's an important habit for me to make sure that you don't overextend yourself in things that aren't actually working in the business. Simon obviously mentioned that before when he spoke about your marketing. It's something that you can learn. It's very easy to pass it to someone else. They spend $1 million on a campaign, hypothetically, and it's shit. So I guess it's important to have that routine of being in your business, not having an arm's length approach of it. I'm in my business, I breathe my business. It doesn't matter what the task is, I'm still the receptionist. I'm still the owner. So that's one of the things I'll say to you. But then in addition to that, not that you can tell because my clothes are so tight after 3 weeks abroad, eating croissants every day. I don't know who I thought I was. I'm like, I can't even do my jacket up now. But I will go back to gym. And one thing that I always do, and again, it's obsessive compulsive disorder, no doubt. I always finish my work. Like I do not leave anything for tomorrow that I can do today. If you look at my email inbox, it is done every single day, doesn't matter where I am. If I'm overseas, I get up at 4 a.m, I do my emails until 9 a.m, I'll sleep for half an hour and then I'll start my day. Why? Because then I know that my customers are looked after. I know that they know that, she doesn't have an out of office and she'll get back to me when she can get back to me. I'm that girl who is in a habit of delivering. So other than the gym, that's all a bit fluffy. Clearly I never put that there and I don't go to the gym. Because my clothes are so tight right now. Fuck. If it wouldn't be rude and there wasn't a camera right there, I'd probably undo my top button at this point.
I love this open door policy, and I think the idea of, being open to opportunities is amazing. But I also think that, I can sense that there's a part of you that just chases opportunity too. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, what kind of lens do you have to the world to be able to spot opportunities and know you want to go after them? Yeah,
I think Ministry of Talent, the business that I do, predominantly now is that. I've closed all my other businesses. I had 6 at one point. Why? Because I want more, and I want to do stuff that people aren't doing, and I want to be the first to do it, not the one who follows on. Ministry of Talent is a perfect example of that. I started Sweaty Betty, the PR agency, when I was 24. We had customers like Coles, Big W, not glamorous clients, but big money paying clients, like 20 grand a month clients. Perfect. But then I realised that people were, as Simon said before, magazines were dying. People weren't picking up newspapers. And if I didn't think of a way of communicating with consumers like yourselves, I was going to be a thing of the past. Now, there is a reason I shut the PR company. It does say that that's a dying industry, clearly. I wouldn't have shut it if I was still making the money I was making before. I started Ministry of Talent probably 12 years ago. I would have been one of the first, I was the first to do a digital influencer agency. Of course, there's like 3,000 of them now. But I did that because I knew that it was a dying industry. I knew TV, radio, and print was there, but they weren't as open to accepting, to giving free PR. They were moving towards social media. And at that time, it was blogs randomly. I mean, no one even reads a blog now. So I started Ministry of Talent, and it's gone gangbusters. I've become the conduit between the brand and the influencer. I do the deal. I take a 35% commission. Thank you very much. See you later. I don't want to be in a PR industry of an industry that is dying, in my opinion. When I know that there was, I saw that there was an opportunity years and years ago, and I capitalised on it there and then. Would I do it today? No, absolutely not. And I laugh every time an ex-employee goes and opens a talent management agency. I'm like, there's enough of us, doll. Think of something else. And that's one of the biggest things. Like, it'd be like trying to open a Culture Kings. Well, Culture Kings has done it. They own it. Why are you going to do what's already been done and which has a cult following? It's, don't go out there looking for this, thinking you've got the next big idea. If it's already there, do your research. Just don't be a follower.
One of the themes that has been really prominent today is the idea that the world is changing really fast. And we've heard a lot about, artificial intelligence and, all of these things that are contributing to the really dynamic environment that we live in. And I think one of the things that you just touched on was really interesting about recognizing that PR is changing. What do you think the future of this space looks like?
I thought you were going to ask me about AI. I was going to say, I'm just a simple girl who didn't go to uni. I don't even know what that is, really. Can I ask you that question? Look, there isn't an answer. I knew about Threads. I was invited about 3 weeks ago to join the beta testing or whatever. It was like speaking in Japanese to me. I didn't even understand what they were saying to me. So I joined that Threads thing. We don't know what's tomorrow. TikTok is huge at the moment. Are we selling a lot of space on it? No, we're not. Are we selling more space with Instagram posts? Yes, we are. I think one thing is, do I know where it's going? No, no one knows where anything's going. I think that you have to be fluid in whatever you're doing to make sure that you capitalize on it from a social media and a marketing perspective as and when you feel it fits. I also think one thing that brands are, so obsessed with at the moment is trying to be everything to everyone in terms of their marketing and their PR. Choose who your audience is and choose what they're actually absorbing their information from. There's no point having Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, Threads, Instagram. If that's not if you don't know who your demographic is, you're just wasting your time. Choose very carefully. I know for me as a business, Instagram is my strongest method of communicating with people and getting sales. Remember, at the end of the day, you're only communicating with people for an end result. One is brand building, two is to get dollars through the till. If you're not getting either of those, why are you fucking doing it? So what I'd say to you is there a magic answer to that? No, there's not, but I think have an open door policy in terms of the applications that are out there, but know who your customer is and know what they respond to. I know there's a lot of real estate people in the room. I bought a house by looking at it on Instagram once. Why? Because the imagery was great. I didn't see it in the newspaper. I bought it the next week. So would I have seen it if I was on TikTok? No, because my daughter's 11 and on TikTok, and she's certainly not buying a house. So I think be really aware of who your customer base is and how they're consuming their media, more so than trying to be everything to everyone. Like, I don't even have a TikTok or a Snapchat or any of those. I'll leave that to my daughter for her get ready with me. My clothes don't fit me at the moment anyway, so there's no point for her get ready with me.
So Roxy, I want to move on a little bit and talk a little bit more about your view on success.
Yeah.
And I'd love to talk about some of the key strategies that you have that have really contributed to where you are now.
Well, as you can see from there, I have a hands-on policy, and a lot of people will look at the way I've worked, and I've worked over my career of 18 years as my own small business, and say, oh, delegate. People came to me as a PR company for me. They didn't come for me to just delegate it to someone else and never to have any front-facing opportunity with me. I was the brains behind it. I was the one who came up with the ideas. They wanted me. So it wasn't micromanaging. It was what the client wanted. It was what they expected. If they were paying a retainer to me, they wanted to have some sort of contact with me. That doesn't mean on a day-to-day basis, but they want to feel like they're loved. They don't want to feel like a number. So as you can see there, I'm in the office every day. If we've got a customer coming in, I will blow the leaves from the driveway so it looks smart. If we've got packing to do for product, I'll do it and I'll send it out. That's, in my opinion, a very big part of success. You can't think that you're just going to give the job to somebody else and hope it's done, and that you're going to go for lunch on Friday, and it will be done. It will not be done. It may be micromanaging, but it was the key to my success.
Wow. I think one of the things that, we don't hear often is the importance of being hands-on. And so I think it's really wonderful to hear some of the stories that you have about, what that's looked like in your business.
If you don't have a train driver, the train is always late. I used to say to my staff, I was a train driver, and they were the people getting on the train. If I wasn't there to drive it, it would be late for every stop. So I think the most important thing is that you are in there, that you work it. There's also a greater respect from staff, and staffing in any business now is very hard to find. Imagine how hard it would be to find if you get someone who's great and they feel like they're there, and it's a use and abuse. They walk in, you're doing the work, and they're out lunching. Absolutely not. And I think even when I was abroad this holidays for the last 3 weeks, I made sure I was up at 4 o'clock. I made sure that my team felt that I was working as well. Like they'd say to me, go to sleep, it's 4 a.m., what's wrong with you? Because I don't want to feel like you're working to pay for my holiday. No, we're working as a team. I'm the train driver, and I will get the train to every stop on time.
How do you find the right people to be on the train with you?
Oh, it's a fucking nightmare. It's so hard. And my biggest problem is I'm very, very giving. And I think because I had to work so hard to have anything, like now I spend money like it's raining money. I actually really need to stop it. It's bad. I've always had this desperation to give more to my staff. I've bought cars, Mercedes convertibles, BMWs, designer handbags. They've gone on superjets, private planes, you name it. And the interesting thing for me is, now at 43, is that didn't keep any loyalty. That didn't make anyone work harder. I don't even think now incentivizing in terms of more money is what keeps people for longer. I don't know whether it's an Australian thing. Obviously, I've never lived or worked abroad, but it is a really challenging point. And I think it was one of the additional contributing points to me closing my additional businesses down and just keeping Ministry of Talent. And that was because I can run Ministry of Talent from anywhere in the world because it's all remote, it's all email, number one. Number two, I only need 4 people, so I'm not a human resources person who has to deal with someone calling and saying, hey, I've got a cold sore, I'm not coming to work for 4 weeks. Fucking put the Zavirax on your face and get to work. It's pretty simple. It's very tough. I've tried to buy loyalty with, fast cars and you name it. It doesn't work. I've given, double the salary of other people. That doesn't work. I think people just feel like now, the younger generations, that you can be in a job for 6 months and that's enough on your CV. It's not. I hated my job at Diesel, but I stayed there for 4 years. Why? Because even at the 4-year point, I didn't know everything that I could from that job, but I was given this opportunity to start my own business. If I was 1 year in at that job, I would never have taken the opportunity to start my own business because I hadn't learned even near the amount. Even today, I'm still learning from a talent management perspective, and I've been doing it for 10 years. So I don't envy anyone who has a large staffing. It's very difficult. No amount of bribery keeps people for longer. Trust me, I've bribed them with everything under the sun. I've actually done everything there is to do, legally and illegally, to keep staff. We can leave that for the nightclub after. It doesn't work. It's tough, and as I say, I don't envy. It doesn't matter what the culture is, it doesn't matter what you incentivize with. It's just the individual. People always seem to feel like the grass is greener. Well, I can tell you fucking right now, the grass is not greener. I've stuck with clients that I can't bear because I know that even if I dump them and I move to another one, the other one's going to be just as a pain in the ass. So I think you just have to roll with the punches, and having the perfect team, you think you've got it for a year and then all of a sudden there's one. And we used to say it's like a cancer in the business. Once you've got one bad egg, it spreads. So I don't even have the answer. I wish I did.
It's always difficult.
Yeah. And I'm not generous like her. I won't give shares in a business.
Sometimes I think that's smart.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think people are so hard. I don't know. When you said that before, I was like, oh, I'd never give shares in my business. I guess because my business really became Roxy Jacenko. It was never just a company name built by fantastic people. It became me. I was the business. So I guess that's why I probably struggled to give anything other than a materialistic item.
Well, I think it's amazing that you've been able to build such a fantastic brand. And I think that a lot of people, you have such great name recognition in Australia.
For all the wrong reasons.
No, I don't know about that. I think that, you've built a brand around being a woman in business who is really formidable. And I know that, that's not easy. So I'd love if you could tell us a little bit about the challenges that you've had on your journey. And I think, for a lot of people, you see the good stuff, you see the glitz, and you can see the glamour, and everything looks like, rainbows and daisies, but I know it's not that way. So would love to hear a little bit about the challenges you faced and some of the things that you did to really be able to overcome them.
When I first started at 24, and I used to read articles about myself comparing me to Paris Hilton, which when you're 24 at that time, she wasn't trendy anymore, believe you me. Now she's come good. Now everyone's like, wow, Paris Hilton, she's done your 360 and she's fantastic. I'd be so disappointed because I'd be like, hang on a second, she comes across to me as this blonde bimbo, she's got lucky because of her surname, she doesn't work, she goes to parties in a crop top. Why am I being compared to her? I was compared to her as Australia's answer to Paris Hilton. I'm like, I don't even go to fucking parties. Don't call me a socialite because I'm not social. I don't even like people. Why am I being called a socialite? So it was really difficult in the beginning to have people actually get that this girl was hungry, she was going to work harder than anyone else, that I had something to offer that people who were in the same industry as me and had been for the last, say, 20, 30 years couldn't offer that I could. Couple that with people saying, oh, she's a socialite with no friends and doesn't socialise, but whatever. And then obviously came my husband's jailing, which was very highly publicised. And then after that I got cancer. So there's been like a lot of struggles. But I think what that has done is it's actually puts things in perspective. You go, well, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. It's today's news is tomorrow's fish and chips wrapper. Which is really the case. I've never really let it get to me. I did, as I said, when I was younger, but I think with maturity and age and the punches that keep coming, you learn to deal with it. I remember there's been a few defamation cases actually, which I've fortunately always come out on top with. But there was one in particular, and that was, I don't know if anyone in the room remembers, there was that lady called Belle Gibson, and she faked that she had cancer. And she'd published a book, she got Cosmopolitan Women of the Year, etc. Anyway, she didn't have cancer. And she was just a fraud. She made a fortune out of pretending she was sick. And I remember when I got cancer 2 weeks after Ollie went to jail, and I was written in the newspaper in the Sydney Morning Herald as Roxy Jacenko, the new Belle Gibson. And I was like, how am I even being compared to someone who is a fraudster who didn't have cancer? And I'm laying on the table of I was at the Epworth Hospital in Melbourne because I was the only person who would do this minor surgery instead of a full mastectomy. And I didn't want to do the full, I don't know, I was just in a weird space. And so I was in Melbourne and I'm reading this and I'm thinking, fuck that. I'm actually not going to put up with that. And so I fought them, and of course I won, and they had to pay because it was defamation. But things like that were really personal, and they were very hard to face. But at the same time, and it's fucking boring to say, but whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I think I'm testament to that. With every hit, it makes you, it turns the fire up in you to work harder, succeed more, and go fuck you to all the people who want to see you fail. And I've got a lot of them. Trust me, they write to me very often. They're like my pen pals. Oh. Daily. And now with this new, what's the thing called? What is it? Now with Threads, they can talk to me directly and I can even reshare them. So stay tuned.
I think when challenges, can be so personal, for a lot of people, it's such a different blow to if it's, say, a business challenge, right? And I wonder, as a mum, what kind of advice do you have for your children, kind of growing up in a world like we have today, where
he's bored, he's out of here.
Hey, come back.
Look, what was the question?
Oh, it was just...
I told you I'm just a simple PR girl.
So, one of the things you talked about was sometimes these challenges can be so personal.
Yeah.
How do you, what advice do you have for your own kids growing up in a world where people have such direct access to you?
Oh, well, my kids live it every day now anyway. It's an interesting one for me. My guess for me, my parenting would be very different to many other people. Obviously, Pixie's on Instagram, Hunter's on Instagram. I think combined following of 250,000 or something. They've lived this their whole lives. They were born into having this story about whatever it may be. So you know, what I say to Pixie is don't read it, number one. And number two, she's of an age now, I guess, she's 11. 11's like the new 18 for anyone who's a parent. Good luck to you. Crop tops, makeup, acrylic nails, false eyelashes, you name it, they do it. They even vape. Not mine, she tells me, but they vape. So, I mean, I don't really have, I think this is one thing that I've always said, and I've stuck by this, and I've done many an interview about parenting, you know, what's my tips and tricks? There are no tips and tricks. You have to do what's right for you, and you have to do what's right for your family, and what your child responds to. I mean, what Pixie responds to a newspaper article versus what someone else's child would respond to who hasn't grown up in that life is very different. So I can't really even give that. I think the best advice I can give is you have to do you. You have to do what works for you, what works for your family, and how your family best responds to certain situations. There is no recipe. I mean, every day for me is a challenge. Every day for me, you know, being a parent, even today, I was like, I'm actually going to strangle my child. If I do bail me out, this is where I am. Because it's hard and there is no right or wrong. Even, you know, what's worse is when, you know, they can start to read and they can read X, Y, Z, then the lie you told them comes undone. So there is no formula. The formula is you do you. And I think that's the most important thing. Don't worry about what everyone else thinks. Don't worry about what, James down the road does with his son. Just do what you think's right for your kid.
I want to talk a little bit more about business and your journey with business. Today on stage we've heard from several entrepreneurs, and one thing that I think we can all agree on and really take away from this is that the journey of building a business is not easy, and there are so many setbacks, and every single setback, as you said, you know, failure is about not accepting failure and getting up and continuing to go. What do you think has been the most significant setback in your business journey so far? And reflecting now in retrospect, how did that failure actually set you up for success?
Yeah, look, number one for me was not knowing what a debtors list was and invoicing in Microsoft Word. There's a few there, but one thing I will say to you is always understand your back end. I am so bad at maths. Like, I literally cannot do maths to save myself. The reality of it is you need to understand it, even if it's in the most basic form. You know, for the first 5 years or so of my business, I never once looked at a debtors list. Heck, I didn't even know what a debtors list was, and I was invoicing in Word. So if you didn't pay me, you just didn't pay me. I didn't know. There was nothing to reconcile. There was nothing that popped up on my screen to say, oh, by the way, this person hasn't paid for 90 days. I just kept working and working and working. And then the next thing you knew, a group called Colorado Group, it was Williams and Mathers, the shoes, etc. They went belly up and they owed me, I think it was about 30 or 40,000. What that taught me very quickly, although it doesn't seem like such a lot of money now, is wake up to yourself. Know what's happening at the back end of your business. It's all well and good to be the face and, you know, out there networking, you know, chatting to potential customers. But if you don't understand what's going on at the back of your business, at the back end of your business, and you don't see what's coming in and going out, you'll have no business. So that was one of the biggest setbacks for me, because that was a big hit in my early stages of business. That 30 or 40,000, I don't even remember what it was, but I know it was a lot. And I know it was like you were going to get 5 cents in the dollar. That was a huge setback for me, and what it did is it woke me up very, very, very quickly to realize that even if I don't understand at a deep level any accounting, which I don't still to this day, and I don't want to. It's not what I know, and Simon mentioned outsourcing. Outsource it. Don't just leave it and hope for the best. You know, because you don't know how to use Xero or MYOB. It doesn't mean you use Word. Like, you'd be a fucking idiot like I was. Get someone to do it. Now I have a debtors list that comes to my desk 3 times a week. And if I see that the accounts department isn't getting anywhere with a particular client, I don't care who you are, I'll pick up the phone and I'll hustle you myself. Because if you aren't bringing the cash in and you're spending it, you'll have no business. So that was one of the setbacks that taught me very quickly. Don't understand it at a deep level, but at least have a top line overview of where you're at with it. And then obviously these things we spoke about before, you keep going. You know, someone wrote Roxy is a cunt across my office walls and across basically every plain surface in the eastern suburbs of Sydney. I just got a spray can and I sprayed it out. But I mean, I think the reality is there's always going to be setbacks. It doesn't matter who you are, what your business is, whether you're an employer or an employee. Life has challenges. You know, challenges today for all of us are the mortgage repayments. You know, there's always challenges. It doesn't have to be in business. So I think the reality is just keep going. You know, find a way to solve it and keep moving forward. But yeah, I mean, look, the reality is it always comes down to dollars in the till. I say, know where you're going with it. You know, be sure that you're not overspending on your marketing and you're, you know, being out and about and it's, you know, bleeding.
That's really great advice.
Thank you.
As you know, Emil said when he introduced you, you know, the queen of PR, and I really wanted to just dig into that a little bit more and have you actually share some of your biggest tips around building a brand with everyone here today, because it's something that you're obviously very good at.
I think there is a slide on this which might make it a bit easier. Is there?
Let's have a look.
No.
No.
Okay, maybe there's not. Okay, so ask me the question again because I wasn't listening properly because I thought there was a slide.
So we're here with the queen of PR.
Okay, queen of PR and one of my top
PR,
tips.
yep.
Okay. Forgot who I was for a second then. It's been a very long 32 hours. Okay, I think one of the most important things, as I said in our earlier question, was knowing who your audience is. And that is vital. If you want to communicate, if you want to get a customer, you need to know who your customer is and how they're consuming their media. That house example for me, I spent 6.6 million. This is many years ago from one Instagram post. That to me says my demographic at that time, how old was I? I was probably I was like 35 or 36. It shows that, okay, at 36, that's a great target for selling real estate. So number one, know who your target market is, who your demographic is, and also understand how they're consuming their media and where they're consuming it from, because there's no point trying to be everything to everyone and having all of these social media channels which you're not actually dedicating energy to and doing a good job on, number one. Number two, I think to understand that traditional media is not dead per se. It's still there, but it isn't as vital as it was when we didn't have social media. So I still would say to you, TV, radio and print is still important, don't get me wrong. But if you were to split your percentages of social media spend or time, I don't mean, when I say spend, I don't mean actual dollars, between social and traditional being TV, print and radio, I'd say it would be an 80-20 split. Don't disregard it entirely. I think that's one of the biggest issues that I'm seeing at the moment. Yes, while traditional is much slower than it was and a lot of it is advertorial, it's still important. You know, there's no reason if you get a high auction result, you know, you don't want that on the local Channel 7 news. You do still want it on there. You know, if you can hit more eyes with your, you know, signboard in the background, fantastic, because you're actually potentially getting customers who aren't on your Instagram who may then go to your Instagram and then click through and follow. So that's the second thing that I'd say. So number one is know who your target audience is and make sure that you're tailoring your communications to them in a way that actually is hitting them, not trying to be everything to everyone. So you don't need Snapchat or TikTok if you're a real estate agent. I'm sorry, you just don't. I would say number two, obviously before, is don't discount traditional media. It is still there, but make your spread 80-20, 20 being traditional, being TV, print and radio. And then number three, is it's still about the phone call. You know, I think so many people have become really lazy now. They'll just email for the sake of emailing. Emil is a very good example of, he rings. I don't know how to put phone numbers in my phone. So every time he rings, I'm like, Roxy speaking. He's like, are you fucking serious? I've rung you 50 times. Why do you not have my number? I'm like, I'm not being rude. I actually don't know how to put a phone number in an iPhone. That's another story. But pick up the phone. You know, I think that the reality is people are really receptive and respectful of someone who actually has voice-to-voice contact. We've become really lazy as a community and think that email is the way forward with everything or direct messaging is the way. It's not. Yes, it may be once you've established that relationship, but at the end of the day, there's something quite nice about the old-fashioned pick up the phone or go out and network at an event like this. You know, you get so much out of that in person more than you do from just an email, which is, you know, one of however many a person gets in a day. I mean, I get about 700 emails a day. I go through every single one and I do answer everyone, but I'm a minority. Not many people are happy to sit on their emails morning, noon and night. That's why I'm not social. I like to email and read emails. So what I'd say is that's a really important thing. You know, that voice communication, that in-person, that networking. This One Life Club opportunity is a really good opportunity to share ideas between business owners, between fellow employees, and to understand what they're doing, what you're doing, how you can collaborate and do it better.
And on the note of One Life, my last question to you is, what does One Life actually mean to you? What does it mean to have one life?
Oh, fuck, that wasn't in my fucking questions. Talk about a curveball, Emil. That's a stitch up. Look, you know what? I think the reality is, you know, you need to work, you need success, and you need family to have one happy life, realistically. I mean, I had everything. I never wanted to have children, and then I met my husband, and he was 24, and all of a sudden I was pregnant. I was never going to have children, but what I have got now is one happy life, and that is I've had successful businesses. I still have a business. I've got 2 wonderful children, which had I have been in the situation that I was with Ollie going to jail, me getting cancer and not having had those 2 children, I think I would have been a very different person than I am today, because my children, albeit young kids at that time, were a huge support to me. It made life worth living, because I was like, I've got these 2 little people who depend on me and who need me. So I think as much as, you know, people say this work-life balance, I don't believe it. It doesn't exist. But I think as one, it all works very nicely cohesively.
Thank you so much,
Pleasure.
Roxy Jacenko, everyone.
Thanks. Yes, I can see one there. I actually could not care less. I think the reality of it is, it's probably been difficult for me. Sorry, I hate this thing. I feel like I'm Madonna, but I'm just going to take it off. You know, look, it's been difficult for me. This is not working. It's been difficult for me. That's better. It's been difficult for me from an employee perspective, I think, because you think if you work for Roxy, you have to work harder than you'll work anywhere else. No. If you work for Roxy, you end up being able to get a job anywhere, because other employers know, fuck, she trains them from the minute they walk in the door till the minute they walk out the door, and she'll teach them in a way that is different to uni, different to the cookie cutter method of what everyone else is doing. So from an employee perspective, being known as the devil wears Prada has been a bit challenging, but it also means for the staff that are willing to work the way you should work if you're an employee, that you are setting yourself up and your CV up to be able to walk in anywhere and go, I worked for Roxy. No one rings me for a reference, let me tell you, because they know that if they've been with me for 5 years, they've worked fucking hard, they've been taught that the customer is number one, that cold sores on your face don't mean you take 2 weeks off work. If that's a bad thing, so be it. But from an employer perspective, it does make it a bit difficult, but I'd rather wait for the right person. Oh, I'm not. I think the perception of a hard ass is out there, but I think that if you were to ask any of my staff in my business now, they'd just say she's the hardest working person I've ever met, and if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have had the opportunities that I have. So no, and I mean, if you meet any of my staff, other than the ones I've thrown out, they'd say the same. You know, that the opportunities, I am not. As I said, I've bought Mercedes convertibles because I'm a fucking idiot and think that's going to be, you know, a good thing to do for staff. No, I treat staff as my family. I mean, the lady I took on holiday with me just now to help me with the children so that I could work at 4 o'clock in the morning and she could help me with the kids is actually an MOT booker. So, you know, this opportunity, she'd never travelled abroad. So she's been to Greece on a super yacht, she's been to Turkey, Istanbul, she's been to France, and now she's home resting. So my staffing, no, it's never been an issue. There's been some, but they're always the lazy ones that you're never going to keep anyway, so see you later. Any other questions? Oh.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, there's 2. Okay, hang on. There's one there. There's one with a microphone. Do you mind if we do the microphone one first?
Yeah,
Just
sure.
there?
I admire your hard work. I just have a question. As a woman in business, you did discuss balance is not an option, but at some stage you have your family. How do you balance that with your business and not let it impact you?
Okay, so the truth be told, I haven't been that mother, and And I'm not ashamed to say it. The reality is I don't do the school drop-off. I don't do the school pick-up. Why? Because I need to be the first person who gets to the office and sets up the team for the day and the last person who leaves, so I can't do the pick-up. I feel like, for me personally, if I'm the person who strolls in at 9 and leaves at 2:30 to pick up the kids at 3, I can't deliver to my team what I expect from them. So I have someone who does it for me. Yes, I'm in a very fortunate position to be able to have that, but at the same time, you know, my mum is not one that will help me with the children. She's like, that's your job. I've done it before. So, you know, most of you probably have really nice parents who may assist you with those kind of pickups and drop-offs. That was never an option for me. School concerts during the day were never an option. And I would also challenge you to even find anyone who's running a business of any size that has been able to have that opportunity to be able to duck out at 2:30, say, sorry guys, got to go, got to pick up the kids. And that's why I say it's tough. I've always had someone to do it. I was brought up by nannies, so I don't really know any other way. That said, when I get home, I say I'm not social because I don't socialise, because any time that I have on a weekend without work is when I spend with my children and in evening. So I'll forgo standing and eating canapes and drinking champagne because I'd rather be in Peter Alexander pajamas with my kids, you know, punching each other up, which is what they generally are doing. So that's, I guess, the balance for me is forgoing social, forgoing having friends, and my friends are my kids. But it's not getting to work at 9 and then leave at 2:30 because it's impossible. I mean, I make the lunch the night before and then they complain. I say, why didn't you eat your fucking lunch? And they're like, because it's soggy, because you make it the night before. And I'm like, well, get up yourself and do it. So they don't. So they just complain and they don't eat.
Thank you.
Pleasure. I mean, they do eat, but McDonald's.
Hi, Roxy.
Hi.
Thanks so much for sharing your story. My name's Brooke. My question is around staffing again. You mentioned that you were quite generous, you know, giving cars and everything, but you also mentioned you still had some staff members that had worked for you for 4 years.
Yes.
So what's the difference between the staff members that stayed with you organically? What's the secret?
Yeah, okay, I'll tell you. Well, if anyone's here, sorry, I feel like I'm being choked. Got it. One thing I learned very quickly is in Sydney there is the eastern suburbs. And the eastern suburbs are basically the girls who are from very privileged upbringings who haven't really had a job, and then they go into PR thinking they're going to drink champagne and eat canapes for dinner morning, noon and night. And they don't really want to work. And they see it as this glamorous industry where you're not going to be sitting on your hands and knees packing 500 gift bags, and you're not going to be standing on a door taking people's names. You're going to be standing inside drinking. You're not. So they get into the industry thinking that's what it's going to be. They're people I don't employ. I want the girls from the suburbs, from an ethnic family who've come from families where their parents work in small business, where their parents have, you know, taught them the value of hard work and you know, ethics. And they're the ones that have stayed. I mean, Annie's been with me for 5 years. Emily's been with me for 4 years. Emily started as an intern, and she's never had another job. So she's from the Central Coast. She used to drive 4 hours, 2 hours each way just to come to work. I ended up paying her rent for her, so she didn't have to drive so far because I felt guilty. So she now lives in the city in Paddington. So I guess what I'm saying to you is choose people that come from a family background where they've actually been taught work ethic. And that want to work, that don't just come in and look super glamorous. I don't have the prettiest girls. I did have an office full of pretty girls that they said they were Roxy clones. And let me tell you, they were all the laziest people I've ever had. Whereas I've got just normal girls who want to work hard, who want to be able to travel and save their money and have a deposit on a house. They're the people I've got now, and they're the best people you can possibly have. Not the ones that want to be me.
Thank you.
There's
so
enough
much.
of me, trust me. We don't need another one.
Thank you.
Okay, so the question was, what advice would I give to women who are starting out in business or already in business? Okay, so what I'd say is failure is not an option, and I'm going to harp on that, and I don't care who disagrees with me. If it's not a failure, it's a learning. Get better the next time you do it. You know, think about doing it differently. Learn from the mistake that you made to do it better. What I'd say, don't take no for an answer. You know, even when I got knocked back from clients and I'd pitch to them, in 6 months after they'd said no to me, I'd touch base with them again. And you'd be so surprised by how many people actually ended up coming with me and saying, fuck, I wish I had done it when you first pitched to me. They may not have done it because they thought I was too young or I was a girl and I didn't have enough experience. But at the 6-month point, if you just touch base with them and show, just wanted to touch base, really keen to work with you, may not be an opportunity now, but keep me in mind, people feel like you're keen to work with them. They want to be aligned with you. So that was something that was really always worked for me very well. And also work in your business. Don't have an arm's length approach. As you see from those pictures before, I literally pack boxes, I sweep floors, I blow the leaves from the front, I stack the fridge, I do new business pitches, I do everything. And yes, everyone will say it's micromanaging. Well, it's not micromanaging because at least then you know what's happening and you're in control of it, and no matter what, whether you have stuff or you don't have stuff, because no one's forever, you can always pick it up and keep running with it. Anyone else? Oh, what's next? Well, okay, so I'm sticking with Ministry of Talent. As I said, it's a no-brainer for me. I mean, I love the commission-based businesses. I love the fastness of it. I always said I'd be a good real estate agent because you only have a 6-week campaign. I'd be like, they'd be sick of me after 7 weeks. I am moving to Singapore on the 2nd of August, which will be interesting because I'm not good in humidity, but anyway. And my husband sold his business to STT, which is a big data center business in Singapore. So part of the deal, because it's good for tax purposes, is we move there. And other than that, I'm just going to keep working, doing what I'm doing with this. I think now I'm in a position which was very different. I mean, if you asked me 10 years ago, I was the be-all and end-all in my family. I had to earn the money. I had to pay the mortgages. I had to pay for the houses, the cars, the kids' education. My life's very different now. And I always said it, I threatened Ollie the whole time. I'm like, I'm going to be pounding the concrete of Orchard Road, Singapore, shopping like you've never seen anyone shop because it's my turn. So I'll be doing that. And this kind of thing. I still do my online courses. I love it. I guess it's fun for me, and it's also, I like to pump up other people because I think, people get a bit complacent. I was shit at school. I worked at McDonald's. I had no education in anything to do with what I'm doing now. You can't really do anything as long as you're a hard worker, you're determined, and you look at doing something that other people aren't doing or doing it differently or cheaper. That was one of the key things that I did in the beginning. I was cheaper than everybody else. How can you say no if I'm cheaper? There was one more I saw. Oh, lady in the pink dress.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, yourself?
Great, I'm fabulous. Congratulations on telling it how it really is.
Oh, thanks.
My name's Elizabeth.
There is no grey.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
I'm going to be told to get off the stage in a second. I can feel it.
You totally are.
I can just see they're edging closer. I'm waiting for the raffle to win the car. Where do we buy the raffle tickets? Because there's no other reason that the cars will be parked there.
That's so great. I run a multi-million-dollar personal development business here on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
And my question to you is, have you ever helped your staff grow their own businesses, separate to yours, however, within and supported by yours?
It's really interesting that you should say that. So there's been quite a few people who have started their own businesses and they've done so in a really unprofessional way. They've either started their own businesses while they're still working for me and started poaching my clients, or they've left and within 5 seconds are approaching my clients. So those ones, no. I think there's a certain etiquette and there's a certain level of professionalism and respect you should have should you wish to go out on your own. And I would never begrudge anyone going out on their own. In fact, 10 points to you, I'd never fucking do it again. But there was one boy by the name of Billy, and he owns a company called Billy, etc. And gay guy, lovely guy, used to sit next to me. He was the office comedian. He used to dance all day long, and we'd be like, come on, Billy, dance for us. When we're having a shit day, let's get Billy to dance for us. He'll lighten the mood. He, when he started his own business, he came to me. He phoned me before he did, and he said he left me to work at Edwards & Co, the hair chain of salons, and I was really proud of him. I had given him an opportunity to have a podcast within my business, and he met Jay Edwards from Edwards & Co at that time, and he poached him. Whatever. You know what? He'd done 4 years with me, and he was ready for a change. He started his own business before he did. He rang me and said, Rox, is it okay? I just want to talk to you. I'm like, yeah, what's wrong? I'm thinking, what the fuck's going on? Someone's got a bad hair colour. He's got crisis PR he needs help with. No, he was starting his own business. And as a result of that, have passed every single person who's come to me that I can't do anymore to him. One, because he's respectful. Two, because he didn't start a fucking business on my time when I'm paying him a salary to work on clients that are paying us. And three, because he had the guts and determination to go out there and do it himself in a kosher fashion. So yes, I'm very happy to. Please, I'm happy to give people the business. I don't want to fucking do it anymore. I mean, it was 18 years of hell.
Inside of your business. So we run a business. We've got 7 staff.
Yep.
And all of them have their own businesses that operate independently as well as with our business, like within our business. So so our marketing manager, for example, has her own marketing stuff as well as being our marketing manager.
See, I'd struggle with that because my thing would be, it would come down to me as that, okay, is she doing my work on my time or is she also doing some of her work on her time? I guess
she's fabulous. She's amazing.
You see, you're lucky.
Yeah.
I think in the industry that I'm in, it's very tough. They're very, very young and generally they want this fast life of handbags, champagne, canapes. There would generally not be that trust there that you could trust them. And maybe if they're a little more mature, it wouldn't be a problem and they're on a part-time basis, maybe then. But it's never really come up.
I think it comes down to what you said before, the work ethic.
Yeah, and it's very hard to come by.
Thank you for being so refreshing with that.
Because
there's a whole lot of people that just don't have it.
No, there is
And then
none.
they complain, right? So thank you for being so refreshing.
you.
It's really nice for someone
Thank
else
you.
to hear you talk in a way where it's like real.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for having me, and I'm sorry I'm late. I think I swore less than a meal, just saying. Fuck it.
Thank you so much, Roxy.